What is Motif? So we're a new company. We just started about 2 years ago, and we've been under stealth mode, building some new things. And we are building a next generation design platform. The overall problem space is architecture, engineering, construction. What we are announcing, we just launched our first product about 2 days ago, and that is building on this new platform, but leveraging um, changes in the industry and the changes in the way that people are working, and bringing that more to bear in the architecture and engineering space. So the specific problem that we looked at was, as we know, design happens in these siloed desktop applications, Rhino, Revit, SketchUp, AutoCAD. But especially during the pandemic, what has happened is that the way that teams have collaborated has changed dramatically. So if you look at the adoption of new tools that are digital infinite canvas web-based tools like Miro and Mural and Figma, that's profoundly changed the way people have been working recently. And interestingly, that the adoption of those tools hasn't gone down since after the pandemic, when people are back in the office. But the concept of bringing people together around a digital whiteboard and literally sharing ideas and concepts, I think, holds true to how we work in the profession. So how can we do that in a way that actually makes a little bit more sense and is more appropriate for our problems that are necessarily three-dimensional problems? And that's kind of where Motif comes in. So what if you had a 3D Miro, that literally was able to be the interstitial tissue that could connect between different applications wherever you like to do your design work, Rhino, Revit, SketchUp, AutoCAD, Grasshopper, Dynamo, whatever. But you can share that information and bring it into a collaboration environment and actually bring in other people to the conversation. So the design principal at your company, the project manager that might have been technical before but is now sitting on airplanes or sitting in meetings, how do they contribute? Right now, the state of the art is hand them a set of PDF files and mark them up somewhere. But what if they could start to feel involved in the project and contributing and being able to mentor? That's an opportunity for any of these new platforms. And then ultimately, to help people do better work. So that's kind of where we started. So we're building a new platform. This is the first step of many, but what we're doing is focusing on building out better design collaboration simply from a 2D standpoint first. Simple tools, we'll see in a second, but extending that to work directly in 3D on 3D models that are live linked from the primary design applications. But you can sketch on top of them with the same simple tools. You can comment, markup, review, explore 4 different options, all those kinds of things directly in this environment with the same tools. And then also markup sheets, take a set of drawings that you might have to send out 400 sheets to PDF right now and use a different tool. Why not just do that in the same environment here? So we'll walk through a couple of these workflows. So this is what Motif looks like. It's a clean, simple web application that runs in your desktop, in a browser. There's no install. There's nothing else like that. It'll run on your iPad, multi-touch, all those kinds of things. We have an idea of a project and then boards. So, a board is sort of like a workspace that can be shared. This is all inherently collaborative and multi-user. So here we have Motif. You can notice a really simple user interface, just a tab of about 10 tools on the left-hand side. And all I'm going to do right now is just start a new project and create basically a concept board, like a mood board, looking at precedents and sort of ideas, inspirations. But you don't have to be a CAD person for this. You don't have to be a computational design person. If you can use PowerPoint, you can use Motif. That's kind of where we're starting from. But the benefit is that you're in this infinite canvas in 2D. You can create presentations, you can explore ideas, and then more importantly, you can start to collaborate with your peers, right? So you can bring them in to the mix. Because we've built in multi-user and multiplayer workflows from the very beginning, you can see my colleagues' cursors running around the screen. So anyone can be added to this project as easily as the first time that you use Zoom, for example, or Slack or any other online tool where you can just click the link and something magic happened. That's what we're shooting for with Motif. So markup, comment, review, those kinds of things in an infinite canvas and with infinite history. So this project is tracking all of your changes across all the clients, and then you see the real-time changes wherever you are. That's the fundamental aspect of this, any of these new platforms. But what if it was not just a two-dimensional problem that's simple and easy to use? What if it actually went into 3 dimensions as well? So, as I mentioned before, we're all architects and engineers. We work in 3D. We solve 3D problems. We have plugins to Revit and Rhino right now, and other ones are coming. And the way that works is pretty simple. Motif is just a little helper that's watching over your shoulder. And all it's doing is streaming the information that you have on your screen. So it's what you see is what you get. So the view that you have in Revit will affect exactly what you're streaming to Motif. So if I add walls or windows or doors, or even if I do something like just turn off the curtain wall, that will affect what you see here. And at the same time, those same 2D sketching tools that I've mentioned before work directly in 3D. So I'm sketching directly on top of the model, but inside the 3D space, like not in Zoom where you're on the picture plane or literally taking a photocopy of it. I'm actually able to interact as you would expect as an architect and engineer. I want to get in there and solve real problems in 3D. So that's pretty fundamental. So real-time collaboration in 3D and in a natural sketching interface. And in addition to that, we have other tools. Like I can stream from Sketch or from Rhino in this case. This is like a ceiling feature in this building. And the exercise now is we're collaborating to figure out how to hang that digitally fabricated ceiling from the structure. I can do that directly natively in Motif, have a collaboration session where we're really sketching directly in that and change the source models. And because it's streaming real time, I can see that geometry change happen immediately back in Motif. And then you see these little comment bubbles that are there. I can have a bidirectional link back to the source that will have people help them understand like what they need to do, like, hey, add a bracket or change the structural steel or anything else. So on the Revit side, I'll add a little bit more structural steel. Let me just pause on that for a second. So the same thing. So a real-time change, as soon as that piece of steel drops, it shows up, and then people can start doing the rest of their work. So it's meant to not to be publishing to some central model and reviewing PDF files in a long virtual design and construction process. It's meant to be real-time and interactive and collaborative to speed up that collaboration inside of a team. This can also work with other models, like I just imported a SketchUp model. This is from what we call a static asset. So I can bring in like a OBJ file or GLB or GLTF into this mix and just aggregate any information that you have. So 2D information can be images or PDF files or SVG, and then 3D are the very common file formats that we have. And then you're able to work, and really it's like a mashup environment that you can start sketching wherever you'd like to there. And we're trying to bring the joy and the creativity back to this part of the process. So I mentioned it's not just 3-dimensional stuff, it can also be 2-dimensional. So let's take away some of the drudgery and bring some of the joy back in marking up drawings too. So in this case, I'm exporting a sheet set from Revit and just exported a set of 24 drawings. So instead of dumping them out to PDF file and having to put them in a different tool like Bluebeam, I can bring them into the same environment here. So using the same sketching and markup tool set that I can use for mood boards and kind of Miro-like things, and also in 3D, I can use that in 2D just to mark up sheets and that kind of thing. And then the comments also go back to Revit so that the draftsperson or architect that's working on those drawings can pick up those changes directly. So that's pretty significant. And then the next time they publish, because we have that infinite history, those changes are essentially slipstreamed in, like that sheet has been reissued, and we track all of that in one spot. So that's some of the fundamental things with Motif as a platform. And then the last part of this is just using it in the same way that one of the joys and essence of Revit was things were real time and coordinated. Everything was up to date. And that same philosophy holds true in Motif, where this is a live view of whatever models you have, and I can make views of those, right? So like you can in SketchUp or Revit, you can switch between different live views and use them as a storytelling technique. Like architects are storytellers. So you can walk someone through the model. But more importantly, as you change something in the model, all of those views update in real time. So if I just add something like this mural, you can see the little thumbnails update. And as I navigate through, all those changes are up to date. So it's never like, oh, I changed it in one spot and it didn't get picked up. Of course, it's going to be the same. Where that gets significant is when you start to pull the different design options or ideas that you have together and make a presentation out of it. So like in this case here, if I looked at 4 different options for curtain wall, I could have those in a board, one of these infinite canvases, and then start to pull together basically presentation information. So I might have an Enscape rendering, for example, that's coming from that. So if I change the Revit model, then the Enscape rendering updates and we track that information too. So all the different ideas that you have can be run through Motif and then assembled into a presentation. So here we're showing the frames feature that we have, which is basically like sheets in Revit or PowerPoint slides. You can take that information that's consistent. So all your renderings, all your plans, sections, elevations, and then also the 3D views, and put them into a presentation and be assured that they're always up to date. So you're minimizing that invisible work of like, wait, did I update that rendering? I thought I slacked that to you last Friday. None of that happens anymore because all that information is there in one online source. And more importantly, is linked back to where the information started from in whatever platform that is. And then because it's an online tool, you don't have to worry about sending out PDF files. Like you could literally send a link to this presentation to a client or whoever you'd like to share it with, and be assured that they can see this information and mark it up or use that for the presentation. And it's always going to be consistent. So those are the key things that we're working on in Motif. At this point, we're trying to, again, build on top of some of the concepts around BIM and extend them to the larger design team, and also build an open platform that could link into things like Schema or other newer tools in the same way that we just showed on top of Revit and Rhino. So we're trying to be the kind of integral source that is a new alternative in this space around BIM and the way we advance architectural engineering design. And those are some of the core concepts. So like I said, so we just launched. We're updating the software very, very frequently. So about every month or so, we'll have a new version out. But these are the core concepts that we're working on. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Congratulations for the launch. Now everyone is talking about Motif, and it was wonderful to, see it firsthand how it works. So I'm just curious. So it creates the connection between all this software, and you can also build models and draw like 2D drawings inside Motif as well, right?
Yeah, so we have drawing tools that we're building out. You can see them like there's just normal like lines and rectangles and freehand tools. The boards that we have are real world size, so they know what model units are that you're in. So you could draw out like a space plan, for example. We don't have the like a full creation environment set up to make walls and windows and doors yet, but we're building out the fundamentals of a new platform.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Very exciting. I use Figma and Miro almost every day.
Oh, great.
So this is very exciting to have it for the architecture.